key point is the number of people employed in the locality. I mean, you can have storage and distribution uses which are very space intensive and employ a very small number of people. And you can actually have a scheme that may not be 100% employment, but it's actually capable of employing a lot more people than existing use. It would seem very, very perverse to protect the existing use if actually the proposal is one that has the potential to actually generate a lot more jobs, and perhaps jobs that are more attractive to local residents. So I think there has to be flexibility.
I just think it's tangential to this, that any regeneration scheme should have built into it the possibility of running pilots. And although I followed most of the stuff that's been in the last 4 or 5 years, there seems to be an absence of bending the rules specifically to try a pilot scheme out. And I think that pilot schemes could save a lot of wasted time when you come with a blanket scheme that doesn't work, as often happens.
I think Church Street residents are a hop, skip and a jump from all sorts of employment opportunities. I don't know that one would be looking particularly, I can't think where one would be looking particularly to develop them. I mean, perhaps just on Edgware Road somewhere, but on the whole they go to St Mary's or in the West End. Or
Edgware Road's a good example, Bob, of the old Vauxhall garage, isn't it? Where
yes, you could.
I think that you wouldn't want to lose that potential commercial opportunity on Edgware Road. You probably could combine it with housing around it.
Or housing upstairs and commercial down below, or whatever. I mean, it isn't. I've always felt there isn't a shortage of job opportunities around Church Street. It's enabling our youngsters to get those jobs.
I mean, that's a huge point. How many people in this area are unemployed because they don't have access to jobs? And putting an employer in that locality in a sort of 1940s, 60s walk to work type methodology is actually the answer, because there are a lot of jobs in London, and the transport system is very good. There's not very many people this day and age that walk to work because and they have a job because you happen to have provided an employment use on their doorstep.
But it's more than local employment. It's about the high street and then who you may attract to it.
But there are a lot bigger issues surrounding why people aren't in jobs in that area, rather than just because there isn't an employer on their doorstep.
So are you suggesting that maybe this 50% balance is not really necessary?
I think the 50% is rigid. I think it's correct in what it's trying to do in terms of promoting businesses, but I think it needs to be more canny in terms of how that's going to work, how we figure out to the market.
Especially, as you said, around Edgware and Harrison.
Okay. Can I ask just, you may have dealt with this before, but the actual empirical research base, is that an ongoing work? I mean, Harrow Road, when the LARP was developed, there was research was commissioned, which has proved immensely useful. I just wondered if the council does have, ongoing research that deals with the demographics and the socio-economic group, so that actually you don't have to kind of pluck notions from the area in the hope that there is some substantive information to make decisions on.
I think at a particular level we're legally obliged to write the annual monitoring report every year, and providing that there's specific policies, for example, that relate to this area. But at the moment it's the North Westminster Special Policy Area, moving to the new framework it'll be the Economic Development Area. We're legally obliged to monitor progress against those policies. So in the last annual monitoring report that's just been published last December, it looked specifically at the policies in the economic development area, whether they were working, what sorts of applications had come forward. So we do monitor quite specifically. The other issue you're talking about, changing demographics and things like that, that's done at a different level. It's done at a more corporate level by the council, and it's also done by the PCT, and they publish an annual public health report, and that has a wealth of information about certainly ward and sub-ward level demographics, particularly as they relate to health and deprivation and some of those key indicators.
But does that feed in to the, is it feeding in to
absolutely.
This consultation process?
Yeah, it's part of what underpins what we look at throughout the core strategy as well as this document. So
the flip side of it, and it picks up on the piece of research that Ruth refers to, which was done by the retail group, is that all the health information that you cited cites deprivation and the extreme causes, and you know, we just need to look at the deep red on that map to know what the issues are. But what we don't often hear is the good news, and that's what was referenced in this retail group study that shows that actually the Harrow Road, which for such a long time has been thought of as just being worthy of pound shops and nothing more, could sustain something considerably more diverse, because there is there is a market for it. And I think inherent in all of what we've been talking about, there needs to be a sort of shift in mindset, not only the retailers themselves, but also the developers and everybody, who need to recognise that this little island in the middle of West London is an ever-shrinking one, and all around it, from Golborne Road, Portobello, Ladbroke Grove, Salisbury Road, Chamberlain Road, they're all totally up and come. Kensal Rise has a blog now called Kensal Rising. In fact, it should be Kensal Risen. But this remains, you know, there's a sort of poverty of mind in terms of what people expect this area to be able to sustain. And actually, I think we need to, you know, there needs to be a kind of tipping point at which we recognise that if we all get behind this, and these policies that you're talking about can certainly support this, if the developers and the community and the planners and the businesses, more importantly, reach that tipping point, we'll see a significant change in this economic development area. But until
focus
then,
on opportunities as opposed to deprivation, things
I think
like that. It's particularly in the wording of what we write.
I was asked by a local resident recently, would you choose to go out in Paddington, as in it's not Paddington, Church Street, and these wards? Of course you wouldn't, you know, for an evening out you'd probably go to Kensal Rise or Salisbury Road or something, but actually in terms of cafe, pub, restaurant offer, cinema, that sort of thing, there isn't offer. But it could well be such a perfectly located area.
It's a modern gentrification which has been going on for 50